Man, what's up, y'all, man? Jonathan Owens here, another episode of Word Spoken. Yes, you saw it correctly. The topic of evolution. Let's get into this. Let's go. But let's get right into this. Now, the first thing, dinosaurs. This is important. Why is this important? Because many people have told you, or this is supposed to be the consensus, that an asteroid got rid of the dinosaurs. Now, the asteroid was the Chicxulub. I think it's like, yeah, I do hope I'm saying that right. The Chicxulub. So it was an asteroid impact, and they said that it had created a 2-year cloud of dust. So we know this. If you know the theory of evolution, you know that they said that we have a common ancestor. We have a long span of just small genetic variations through natural selection over billions of years, millions of years, close to a billion years, starting from 500 million years ago. But the thing is that this right here gets me, because if our common ancestor was an ape-like creature, think about this. Because the thing I always say that, you know how you can disprove the evolution in many ways is you ask simple questions. You ask simple questions that wouldn't get an answer. Like, it wouldn't get an answer. And so they say that this asteroid created a 2-year cloud of dust. So it created a 2-year cloud of dust over like just everything. So if you have that type of impact, you're going to have the explosion and the ramifications coming from that, and then there's going to be a cloud of dust that blocks out the sun, which kills life. So much so, they said that 75% of the life on Earth was killed. So that was always my question. If an asteroid came, whatever, how will it kill the dinosaurs only? Wouldn't it kill every other thing, like apes and mammals and a lot of other land animals? It won't just kill dinosaurs. It doesn't make sense. Why would it just kill dinosaurs alone? And so much so they said it killed over 75% of all species. Ironically, they said that birds are the only dinosaurs to survive the mass extinction event 65 million years ago, which makes no sense. If you say that birds evolved from dinosaurs, if the dinosaurs were wiped out, how did the birds evolve from a wiped out species? Are you saying that some dinosaurs survive, but now you're just like, okay, how did the dinosaurs survive, and how did birds evolve from that little bit of dinosaurs that survive, however amount? You get what I'm saying? So it's like, it makes no sense. And how can birds, if birds came from the dinosaurs, how were they living at the same time to survive the 65 million year ago event? Just simple questions. And it makes no sense. Simple questions. So these are the things that you can just easily ask. It's like, okay, you said that they died off. But did everything die off? Because if everything died off, 75% of all land animals, and just stuff in general, how did we come out from that? Because remember, they said that the evolution took place over a long period of time. But this asteroid was kind of like a restarter. It was a restarter. So if you restarted the timeline, wiping out all 75% of creatures, how did we evolve from that in that short period of time? Because now the timeline resets. Because if you wiped out 75%, where are the animals going to come from to restart the evolution cycle? Because you already wiped out most of the animals. What did we come from? Something else? And if that's the case, there's not enough time in the evolutionary time span to make that evolution happen. Man. Second, the laws of nature. Let me play this video by John Lennox, and you will see what I'm getting at when dealing with the laws of nature. Check it out.
Grand design. Because there is a law like gravity, the universe can and will create itself from nothing. What? Because there is a law like gravity, because there's something. The universe will create itself from nothing. What's that? A flat contradiction. Because there is a law like gravity, he doesn't say because gravity exists, but what would the law of gravity mean if gravity doesn't exist? And if there is no material in the universe on which gravity acts, and behind that there lies a huge problem. It's a confusion that laws are created. But they're not, you know. The laws of nature that we formulate mathematically are descriptions of what happens, but they're not causes, and they don't create anything. Newton's laws of motion never moved a billiard ball in the history of the universe. They describe the motion once somebody with a cue causes it. And this is a huge confusion. I once talked to Peter Atkins after a debate. I said, Peter, I'd never met him before. He's an atheist physical chemist at Oxford. I said, what created the universe? He said, mathematics. And I'm afraid I was rather rude. I confess that I started to laugh. And he was angry. He said, what are you laughing at? Well, I said, I really am sorry, Peter, but that's the silliest thing I've heard for a long time. He said, why? Well, I said, I am a mathematician. Let me put it this way. 2 plus 2 equals 4. Did that ever put $4 in your pocket? You see, Peter, I said the financial crash was caused by some people who thought that mathematics can create money. You may have met people like that. It's called creative accounting. So we need to be careful about these things. The idea of laws creating the universe is just sheer nonsense. But it's worse still. The universe will create itself. Well, if X creates Y, what does that mean? Roughly speaking, if you've got X, you'll get Y. If I say X creates X, what does that mean? Well, it means that nonsense remains nonsense, even if scientists talk it. You see, this...
So, if you see that, let me explain to you what he said and what he meant. Or what he actually said it, but if you don't understand what he had kind of like broke down, let me break it down for you. Basically, most people understand that the world and the universe is finely tuned. So, remember I said simple questions. If gravity and everything else was created at the Big Bang, then how can gravity activate the Big Bang if the Big Bang wasn't, if gravity wasn't created until the Big Bang happened? How did the laws of nature create the Big Bang if there was no laws of nature working until the Big Bang happened? So, if you caught that, the Big Bang actually brought everything into existence. That's where the laws of nature took place. The gravity and everything came into being. So how can those same gravity, the laws of gravity, law of conservation of energy, how can all those things, start the Big Bang if those things didn't come into existence until after the Big Bang? If you're saying that those were in existence, as some scientists do, then now you have to be like, where did those laws come from? Where did the law of gravity, the law of conservation, the law of the speed of light, or whatever it is, the law of all these different laws, where did they come from? Because the law of gravity, the speed of light, the conservation, the constants, those would have already had to be in place for when gravity came into existence, so gravity can know what to do. Those laws had to already be there before everything, because if the laws are not there, Stars cannot form, planets cannot form, galaxies cannot form because there's no laws governing their motion, their actions. But where do those laws come from? How can those laws predate the universe and already have the mathematics in place so that these things can form? Like how did those laws exist before the universe even came into existence? We know that mathematics predate the universe, but mathematics is only a constant of the mind. And so now you're saying that a mind predates the universe because you can only have mathematics, you can only have laws if you have a mathematical, somebody who's going to write the mathematics, or you can only have a law if there's a lawgiver. So all these things show a mind that produced the mathematics and produced the laws that predate the universe itself. Simple questions that can destroy and disprove the theory of evolution. But now let's get to where everybody wants to get their meat from. That is biological evolution. This is where everyone wants to get their bread and butter from. They want to say, I'm only discussing biological evolution. I'm not going to answer the other ones. I'm just going to answer the biological evolution. Well, let's play this video from Stephen Meyer talking about how this is impossible when discussing Charles Darwin and everything. Let's check it out.
The cell, the smallest unit of life, is a simple homogeneous globule of undifferentiated protoplasm. They thought of life as a simple goo enclosed by a cell membrane. So this is just one aspect of the complexity of life, but it's really relevant to our story here about the Cambrian explosion. Because if you want to build a new form of life, you've got to have information. If you think of it in the computer world, if you want to give your computer a new function, you have to provide it with new code. And the same thing is true in, I'm going to skip over a little bit of this technical stuff about different ideas about information. We can come back to that in discussion. But the big idea here for our discussion about the Cambrian period, if you want to build this Waptia guy from some simpler organism, maybe a sponge or a something in the Precambrian, you're going to need a lot of new information because you have to build the proteins to service the cell types, to service the tissues, to service the organs, and the organs and tissues have to be arranged somehow to make a body plan. So you got to have new information. Biological form requires biological information. Okay? And so again, that raises the question we discussed last night a bit, which is where does that information come from? So just to give you an idea of the level of complexity, the jump, in the Precambrian there are these very primitive animals called sponges. They have between 6 and 10 cell types. A Cambrian fish has about 60 cell types. An arthropod, usually about 90 cell types. So you can actually cash that out in terms of number of nucleotide bases needed to build all the new proteins. It's a lot of new information. Where does it come from? Where would it come from?
This right here is just amazing, brilliant, because we know that the information on the cell can only come from a mind. It can only come because we know that whenever we see information anywhere, we know that intelligence was there. So what are you telling me? You're telling me that intelligence predates intelligence? Of course. How can intelligence arise out of non-intelligence? It doesn't work that way. We know that for the information to be there and present, the DNA on the cell, you can't even get a different form of animal because you're going to need information to produce a leg. You're going to need information to produce a wing when there isn't a wing. You can mutate it to the cows come home. You will not produce the epigenetic information that is needed to produce something else that's not already in the gene code presently, regardless of how many times you mutate it, because you don't have enough time. Plus the random action is too great. There's too great of a randomizer for you to choose And the moment you choose an incorrect selection, the animal breaks down. So, but these are simple questions that you can ask them. What happened to all the animals once the asteroid happened? How did evolution reset itself when the asteroid came? Where did we come from if the apes and everything were destroyed also with the dinosaurs? And if there weren't apes then with the dinosaurs, how did we arise from that if all 75% of the species were wiped out? How did we come from that? How did mathematics and the laws of nature predate the universe themselves? Where did those laws come from that govern the Big Bang itself? Or how did the origin of life come into play? Where did the first life come from? Or the information on the cell to produce the life? Where are the 2 and 3 and 4 cell creatures or organisms? Simple question that you can ask that evolution can't answer, and they will tell you it's okay if we don't answer, but that's a lie. Those are foundational elements and truths that you must have in order to even ground your theory, because without those, your theory falls down the drain. And this is Jonathan Owens, man. I hope you enjoyed this episode, how to disprove evolution. Just these 3 ways. There's many other different avenues and facets, but just these 3 things right here can show foundational holes in the theory of evolution. They need to answer them, because we sure need answers. I'll see you next time. Lord's willing. Peace.